Okay, we ain't giving it up. We are not freaking giving this up. You gotta freaking fight. You gotta fight.
Now, things didn't always seem this way for the Pelicans, especially coming into this season. You had Zion Williamson. A lot of people questioned whether or not he wanted to be a Pelican.
I think this might be my favorite place to play outside of New Orleans. I can't even lie to you.
Although Zion did average 27 points a game and he was an all-star that season, things just didn't click between him and the head coach, and thus Van Gundy had to be fired.
Was this the right move to fire Stan Van Gundy after just 1 year?
No.
Again, it was the fit. Van Gundy did have his strengths, especially with Zion.
Stan Van Gundy did one really good thing for Zion, is that he put him as a point guard.
Yeah.
It really did seem like he was able to get the best out of Zion that season, and it did seem like a lot of what we've seen from that season would translate to the following season, and unfortunately, you'll see in this video, things just didn't go so well.
Skip, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, what did you learn about Stan Van Gundy in the 1 year of coaching that you didn't know?
Now, how in the world does this affect the team after he got fired? How bad were the Pelicans?
Not that he's a bad coach, but he's a bad fit for this team for the reason that this team is too young for his coaching mentality and style.
I hate to see him keep having somebody in his family speak for him. If that's how you feel, say it.
A lot of chatter was beginning to ramp up with Zion Williamson's relationship with the Pelicans. Him seemingly being unhappy to be there, saying it's disappointing. I'd be lying too if I said anything else.
Now comes the report that his family would prefer he play elsewhere. Is that somewhere else, New York? Of course it is!
Now, when I saw this at first, I thought the media was just pushing Zion to New York, but then I realized this is something that's happened numerous times with the Pelicans.
We're gonna make him happy. How'd that work with CP3? How'd that work with AD? It's not gonna work with Zion.
I hope you're beginning to see that in this video, the Pelicans organization really did put themselves in a hole, and you know, you couldn't blame Zion, really.
Zion should be unhappy.
Correct.
Look at their roster.
Correct.
I'd be unhappy too.
Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe.
Their defense was historically bad, and not only that, they also got blasted by a former player.
Why should anybody trust the word of this organization?
I don't think you're going to get honesty from that front office. Just objectively speaking, that's not an opinion. I just don't think you're going to get that.
Zion also wasn't happy when Redick got traded, and I can see why. I mean, aren't the Pelicans trying to build around him to win?
He's a small town kid. Everything I know about his personality, his demeanor, and his attitude, he does not strike me as a prima donna who's like, I need to be on a big stage.
And as much as I'd like to believe this in hindsight, looking back, the signs were there, man. The signs were really there. Zion, after playing the Knicks at MSG, had some very interesting things to say.
Hey, Zion, I know it's a different, experience now, but what was it like to finally get to play in the Garden in the pros?
If that smile right there doesn't tell you what you need to know, then I don't know what will.
I mean, New York is the mecca of basketball. I love playing here.
At this point, if you're the Pelicans, you'd hope somebody would come to his ear and tell him to shut up.
Honestly, I think outside of New Orleans, obviously, I think this might be my favorite place to play outside of New Orleans. I can't even lie to you.
Back to this article I referenced earlier. It's not just Zion that was unhappy. Apparently, Brandon Ingram was also amongst the players that were unhappy, as he was not a fan of Van Gundy's coaching style. And you could hear it from what Brandon Ingram himself had to say in his exit interview, saying, "This is our first year together. He has a different coaching style than I'm used to seeing from most." Now the draft is coming up, which means the draft lottery is in session and the Pelicans get the 10th pick of the draft. I mean, look at this reaction. Doesn't seem too happy.
It's Rokas. We have a planned trade. As part of a trade to be finalized later, the New Orleans Pelicans will trade the draft rights to Zaire Williams, the 10th pick, to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh yeah, so this trade happened before the draft. Valanciunas getting shipped off from Memphis to New Orleans shipping off Eric Bledsoe and Steven Adams, and this was moving also key draft picks in the 2021 draft.
But this deal allows New Orleans to have some cap space, some financial flexibility when they go into free agency next week.
A lot of people had some things to say about this move from the Pelicans standpoint, but the Pelicans, man, they've saved up a lot of money. I mean, potentially saving up to $36 million. If they do let go of all their free agents, they can get themselves a good player.
And certainly a target for them is a veteran point guard. Kyle Lowry has been among the players at the top of their list.
The hype was setting in New Orleans, and people were saying Kyle Lowry could be our Chris Paul. This was getting very interesting, very tantalizing. A lot of people knowing this could be one of the prime situations where the Pelicans become an instant contender, but
The issue for New Orleans, though, is what were they doing bringing in those deals in the first place? They've corrected some mistakes, that's all well and good, but who is coming to New Orleans?
Right now, this trade makes the Grizzlies look like the winner, the clear winner, as the Pelicans, doesn't seem like many people are going to go there, and they'd have to get lucky for the draft. Also, who are they going to replace Stan Van Gundy with?
Thus today we celebrate and welcome back an old friend who will help us usher in a new era of Pelicans basketball.
Very interesting hire, Willie Green, having played 1 year with New Orleans under Monty Williams as a coach, and having been an assistant coach for the Phoenix Suns, also under Monty Williams. It seems like this hire was made more so for player development, more so because of the fit that was questioned earlier with Van Gundy. You know, maybe the Pelicans did learn from their previous mistakes.
And the Memphis Grizzlies will trade the draft rights to Trey Murphy III, the 17th pick, to the New Orleans Pelicans.
So now with the trade happening and the draft going on, the selections are made, and it seems like the Pelicans had some good returns with Trey Murphy at the 17th pick and Herbert Jones at the 35th pick. I mean, he was the guy that had one hand and shot those 2 free throws with that one hand. That was a crazy moment.
And the crowd goes nuts.
Coming off a finals run with the Suns, Willie Green steps to the podium, and it seemed like he had some very optimistic things to say.
How would you describe yesterday's moves the Pelicans made?
I'll describe them as a disaster, okay?
Free agency time, guys, and Lonzo Ball walks. Yes, you heard me right. Lonzo Ball walks, and who do we got to replace him? Apparently, Devontae Graham is going to be the point guard, and what about Kyle Lowry? What happened to him, being the Chris Paul of the Phoenix Suns? Well, I guess it was April Fool's, because Kyle Lowry was never going to be there. He was going to Miami, and now there's a lot of questions.
Zion is returning from a foot surgery suffered at the beginning of the summer.
So you mean to tell me they waited until late September to announce all this? Your best player may potentially not even play in the beginning of the season? I mean, this is just such a bummer for this Pelicans team.
I think he is a walking injury. Like, I think he probably trains poorly.
I mean, last season, Zion Williamson was phenomenal, and it's like, what happened for him to get hurt and then having to need surgery? What's going on?
Would you still take Ja over Zion long term?
Yeah, I told Skip that at the time, and I told Skip my reasons why.
Will history, Stephen A. Smith, show that Ja Morant should have been the #1 pick in that draft?
I believe it will.
First couple of weeks of the season, Ja Morant's averaging over 30 points a game. It's just stunning. He took that leap forth to the next level, and Zion, well, he's just sitting on the couch.
Because I felt Zion was predisposed to have a short career.
And early on, it was established that the more Ja Morant was displaying his greatness, the more Zion looked bad.
As far as the return to the court, no fixed timeline or...
No fixed timeline right now, other than 2 to 2.5 weeks from now we'll get more imaging.
Okay, so no Zion. So the season now underway, and the Pelicans, I mean, they have enough guys to win the games, right? Nope. They lose, and they lost to Lonzo, their former teammate. He was just shooting threes, lights out. And this Pelicans team, well, fortunately for them, they did pick up a win during their 4th game against the Timberwolves, and Anthony Edwards was not happy.
Lock the fuck in. Everybody coming in here thinking it's sweet, playing the Pelicans, we'll die ass, and we backs on the wall again. We gotta wake up.
To make matters worse, your second best player is now out, having been ruled out against the Knicks on Saturday, and now this is all a perfect recipe for a disaster of a season.
It looked like me and Shaq had a baby.
Not only are you losing to the Suns after leading by over double digits in the 4th quarter, but you're also letting Chris Paul dish out 18 assists, making history.
Chris Paul, to me, he's been the best leader we've had. Everywhere he's been, he's won.
Now, it's one thing to let Chris Paul go up in the assist leaders of all time rankings, but it's another to lose 12 of the first 13 games you've played this season. I mean, this is really bad.
But the thing about it is that when I talk to people in New Orleans, they really say Willie Green has got that locker room. Even though they are 1-11, Even though they are having extraordinary difficulty, those guys are still bought in.
If you're wondering how the Pelicans were able to go from being 1-12 to making the playoffs, yeah, Willie Green is a big reason, but you also had players like Valanciunas.
No one had a better night than Jonas Valanciunas for the Pelicans in a win. My man had 7 threes in the first half. He finished 7 for 8 from 3.
He was coaching regardless of all the distractions going on with Zion. And the front office, to their credit, did something that was going to change this team.
When I came to the NBA, we had veterans. Who's the oldest player on the Pelicans?
I'm pretty sure the front office had this in mind as well. Okay, yeah, they didn't get Kyle Lowry, but they did end up course correcting and getting CJ McCollum, a consummate leader.
He's a big part of our future. Obviously, we're looking forward to getting him back. I haven't had conversations with him directly.
Oh boy, the Zion saga. Let's not revisit that just yet. I'll talk to you guys about that later, but let's just go through the parts of what makes this Pelicans team so good.
Now Portland's playing against the shot clock as well.
Keon Johnson blocked away by Herb. Herb, take it yourself. He will.
Man, Herb Jones. You know how hard it is not just to block somebody's jump shot, but to block it, pick it up, and go and lay that basketball in. Lord have mercy, Joe. This is so impressive.
This new core of CJ, Brandon Ingram, Valanciunas, and Herbert Jones, man, I'm telling you, this is looking very good for this team. And you got some bench guys like Alvarado. Very sneaky guys, man. Very interesting guys that the Pelicans have to really, bring in the dog out of them.
They might bring it in. You took the best punch. It's a 10-point game going in the fourth quarter. Okay? Get your freaking heads up. This is what we live for. This is what we worked hard for.
They went from being 1-12, 11 games under 500, to winning 35 and losing 34 games, being 1 game over 500 in that span since having that 1-12 record. And I think the big difference between the last season's Pelicans that couldn't make the play-in and this season's Pelicans that did is Willie Green, the coach. He was able to bring life out of this team again.
Okay, we ain't giving it up. We are not freaking giving this up. You gotta freaking fight. You gotta fight.
I think one thing that really is underrated in this league is how impactful a coach can be for a team. I think a lot of people, they see players like Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Chris Paul even, and they say those players are the main reasons, the main engines that keep the teams, going and running. And without Zion, Brandon Ingram was that guy for them.
There's a double team on Ingram. Shot clock at 3. Drives on Covington and goes right to the hole.
But I think them being able to do this without Zion, it's not just a testament to how good the players have been for the Pelicans, but how great the coach has been in his first year, being able to get these guys to gel together, being able to go through being 1-12, and then the chatter from the media constantly talking about Zion. I mean, if he did so much as breathe onto a mic, they would be talking about it. I mean, this guy was grabbing headlines all throughout the season without ever playing a single game. It's just a commendable effort from not just the team players, but also the coach, man. You have to give it to him. He came off a finals run with the Suns. He won 2 championships with the Warriors coaching as an assistant. And you have him now leading this team to a playoff position, facing his former team, the Suns, where he coached there last year. I mean, this is just a beautiful story overall. They're the best underdogs there is in this league so far. I mean, you have teams coming in, trying to get their feet acclimated into playoffs. I mean, they beat the Clippers. For crying out loud, many people did not have the Clippers missing the playoffs this season. Not even without Kawhi Leonard playing. I mean, this is insane. It may have been a rocky journey, guys, but Pelicans fans, you guys have a pretty good team around Zion now.